Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook, helping you gain forward progress in your flooring career. We're here to help you win. For our new viewers, welcome to the team. That was flawless. No, actually, that was bumbled, dog. I
Good.
didn't bumble it enough though.
Hey, it was
What's up,
good.
everybody?
How's it
All
going,
right,
Paul?
welcome back, everyone. This week, our topic is elevating flooring installation as a premier trade. With me, as always, Mr. Daniel Gonzalez and Jose Gonzalez. I usually say the Gonzalez brothers. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Ralph Alavina from CFI. Ralph, welcome to the team, my man. What's up today?
Guys, this is number two, right? I mean, so this is the
Number
second of
two.
many to come. Yeah, it's cool to see behind the scenes. Like you don't really realize all the work that goes into these things. But anyways, I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
I'm.
being here.
Yeah, I'm super stoked that I'm super stoked to have you on for this episode. We got a lot of meat on this topic. We talk about these types of things every week. How do we elevate the installer? How do we elevate the trade? But really, if we're wanting to cure a lot of the ailments in our industry, to solve a lot of the problems, it really comes down to how can we elevate the flooring installation community and the trade, that skill set, to a premier trade. I've mentioned this a lot in the past on episodes, but the NTCA has a guy, and his name's Mark. He's one of the lead trainers over there. I think he might be the head trainer. He often tells a story, but I remember this story where I don't know if his grandfather or his father, but they used to go onto the job sites with like a tie and a work suit almost. And when the flooring, or in particular back then, it was a lot of hard surface stuff, and obviously the NTCA being on the hard surface side of the industry, it was masons and tile setters. But when the tile, the flooring, the marble guys, when they got there, it was like, get out of the way. The premier trade was here. It was like so much respect for it. Um, I never experienced those days in my installation career, but yeah, that's a story that rides with me. I wonder how we can get close to that. So that's what that topic's about. I was going to start off with some introductions, maybe a little bit of background about you, Ralph, and would love for you to kick us off here. Tell us a bit about who you are, like how did you get in floor story from everybody, because they're always so fascinating and also similar. And then where this industry's led you, and what maybe excites you today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I see Jimmy put a comment in there. So Jimmy's
Yeah,
the 5 hammer rating guy, right? Is that?
5 hammer.
That is right. Jimmy is a 5 hammer guy. There's only, I think we're about to christen the third or fourth here.
Really?
So
That's awesome.
yeah, in carpet, interesting quick note. We have 0 5 hammers in resilient or hard tile yet. And
Oh,
but we do have 3 in carpet. We have some high hammer rated guys, but yeah. So
I
kudos
think
again to
it's
Jimmy.
weird. It's weird for the carpet and the resilient though, right? Because there's a lot more training on carpet than there is resilient.
Resilient's tougher, especially since the manufacturers have stopped. A lot of them stopped doing their certifications, that kind of stuff. They want to, there's still some out there, but tile though kind of surprises me. There's quite a few, tile trainings, and there's a lot more workshops and things like that in tile that are recognized in the algorithm, like the NTCA workshops and such are recognized in the algorithm. So uh, I would assume there'd be more tile guys with higher with some fives out there. But so Ralph, tell us a bit
yeah,
about your origin
yeah.
story into flooring.
Origin I love it. Like
We all have our unique stories, right? But I'm second generation, and my brother, my uncle, my dad, they were all carpet guys. And really, till this day, I mean, you kind of never really leave flooring. I tried to leave it a few times, and I got sucked back in. Um, I
We're in need of good talent. There's a vacuum over here. So once we get somebody, man, they ain't leaving.
No, it's hard to leave, but it's a good industry. It's been really good for my family, and I've been blessed, right? I mean, I created a lot of financial wealth being in flooring. There's so much opportunity, and I'm very thankful to being involved and being in the position I'm in today. But kind of my journey started out as a carpet installer with my dad. And at that time, I got married real young, and I had my daughter. My daughter's 25 years old, by the way. She's in her 5th year of college. She's gonna have 6 years total, so very expensive.
Holy moly.
Yeah, but I started with my dad, and it was a great way to make. At that time, this was in early 2000s, $800 to $1,000 a week. My dad was paying me. That was good money back then, and I really enjoyed it. And I started doing carpet even at a younger age with my uncle. I'd go as a helper at 13, 14 years old. So by the time I got into it full time, I could pretty much seam anything. So at 18 years old, I was already seaming. I was already doing stairs. I mean, I already passed the helper stage. So it worked out really good for me. And I just always wanted to do something else. And I saw carpet as a difficult, it's very difficult to do carpet, especially because of the weight. And we worked up in New Jersey, and winter times with carpet, those things are hard to move.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and we were
Scratch your
doing a
ear.
lot of basements. And in the basements, we had these dealers that were selling a synthetic pad with a soft back carpet, Berber carpet. That's a disaster, and we had to install it. So it wasn't an easy job. Let's just say that. But I enjoyed it. I did it well, but I wanted to get into hard surface. And really what opened my eyes to a hard surface was the amount of laminate flooring that was going down, and how quickly they can go into a job site and finish 2, 3 rooms of laminate. My dad and I are doing a living room, dining room with a patterned carpet, and the other guys are packing their tools, and we're still there working, and we're getting paid by the yard, and these guys are getting paid by the foot. I mean, do the math, right? So I told my dad at the time, I was like, Dad, I want to start doing hard surface. Let's invest in that, and let's get another truck. And that's when he gave me the opportunity to kind of part ways. He's like, son, look, I like my carpet. I don't want to do anything else. I'm happy with what I'm doing. Why don't you go do that? And it's okay. I'll get me someone else to help. And that's when we kind of split ways, and I started doing hard surface. And it kind of exploded from there. It really didn't stop. I mean, I did every category of flooring. I managed a workroom in Louisiana. We had about 25, 30 crews working a day. It was a massive operation. We covered the entire state of Louisiana at that time. And I have some experiences in retail as well. So I had a retail store. I was aligned with Shaw Industries at that time. And it was just a great business. I had a lot of, when they say don't put all your eggs in one basket, I had a lot of eggs in this one specific basket. And I remember my growth journey with this company. Basically, I was working for just a few locations, and the opportunities kept coming to me. They're like, hey, we want you to cover this 4 more stores, and then we want you to be a regional player. And I'm like, okay, hey, we're going to give you the whole state. So now I'm like this massive regional player. And meanwhile, I lost sight that there's other companies out there that are much larger than me, and I was just setting the stage for them the whole time. But that's okay. That's the way business is, right? So we lost our contract with this large national home center. I don't want to call their name out, so I think that's unprofessional. But anyways, I made a ton of money there. But I met a lot of people during that time, and then I told my wife, we'll just start all over again. Let's start from scratch. We can build this thing again, and just change our mindset, right? Well, I had some relationships with some folks in manufacturing, and that's when I shifted to manufacturing. They came to me and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in this job? We need help when it comes to accessories, sundries specifically, and we need somebody with an installer mindset to help our sales team drive sales with accessories." And I talked to my wife. I was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And she's like, "Hey, this sounds pretty good. There's benefits. There's 401k. What the heck is
Yeah, what's
401k?
a
That's unheard of.
401k?
For
Is that a marathon?
hey,
I don't run.
it's
You
like,
know, I don't
what
run.
is this? That means oh, you're gonna match my retirement? Great. I don't know what a retirement to me is. You just put money in a bank and maybe invest in real estate or something. So it was different. It was a different experience. But I spent 8 years of my career with manufacturing. I learned so much about that other side of the world, right? So I've been exposed to manufacturing, retail, installation workroom, and as an installer myself. So well versed in the industry. So
So tell me real quick, how'd you end up at CFI and give us your title there?
so I'm the new executive vice president of CFI. It's a little fancy title, but just call me Ralph, the VP of CFI. It's fine. But I was actually I was getting out of the business again, right? I was like, you know what, we're gonna do something else. So I had an opportunity with a friend of mine, who's a dear friend of mine still, and he wanted to sell his company in Florida. So it's a flooring store. I was going to buy his company from him. It's very, very good business he's got there. And we couldn't figure out timing. So initially we had a time set, but he needed 2 more years. And then I was like, I can't wait 2 years. I need this now. And I got some money to put into this. I need to do this now. So anyways, we decided not to do that, and we actually acquired a company in restoration. So I have vested interest in a restoration company, and it's currently in operations now. So that's it's a business that's self-sufficient. I have ops managers, I have technicians. So for the most part,
Okay.
really, my goal is to focus on the development side and relationships there.
Why's
And I'll
that?
tell you, it's interesting because that business, the water restoration business, it's very similar to ours, right? We cross paths a lot, and there's a lot of opportunity for flooring guys and for restoration guys to work a little bit closer with each other, especially when networking. So, anyways, that's another venture, but that was my out of the industry, and then this opportunity with CFI, I saw this, and I know some of those folks there, and I know that it's not an easy job to fill. To lead CFI, number one, you gotta understand the installer base. So not everyone does, and I feel like I do a good job with the installers, and I can earn their respect, and I'm earning their respect already. And it's one thing to walk the walk, but to talk the talk, right? You got to be able to show them that you can do it, and I can. But then you also got to know how to run a business, and that's another box that I checked there, right? So there's a lot of boxes that I checked, and I felt that I wanted to stay connected with the industry and do something positive. And really, CFI kind of they showed me that roadmap of how to do that, and I'm excited to be here. I mean, look, guys, there's a ton of work. It's not going to
Yeah.
be an easy journey, but it's an exciting journey, and it's one that's going to be very advantageous to the industry, right? This is something we need. Obviously, I wouldn't be on this podcast now if it's not important. We know how important this is. So,
Amen.
100.
Yeah, well, we're glad you're at the helm. We're getting a little chance here to get to know you a little bit more. We hung out with you in Vegas at Tice.
Yeah.
That
I'm
was
sorry about
great,
that.
by the way. that was a fun time. But
It's not a
it's
beer,
great
I
for you to
promise.
be on. Well, you would not be the first one to have a beer on the podcast,
I know.
here, buddy.
No, we're still
That's what
working.
Ashton said. Hothead loves beer, so
um, yeah, so we're excited that CFI's got some dedicated leadership in that position. I know Steve, and he was running the show there obviously beforehand. but Steve was spread thin, as he'd tell you, and had a lot of different duties, and so kind of that dedicated vision, and somebody able to create a vision from an installer mindset, I think is pretty cool. What's up, Jesus? So real quick, guys, give us your background and how you got into flooring.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Let's start with whoever.
So I started in I think it was the summer of 8th grade as a 1-day temporary, and did it every summer and every break since. And like I graduated on a Wednesday and started full time on that following Monday.
Yeah, baby.
It just sucks you in, man. The industry does.
Nice.
Yep. That's the quick version for sure.
Give me your story there, Jose.
My brother-in-law at the time said they needed some help for a couple weeks, and I was like, "Of course." And I had, at the time, I just quit my job as a cook at a restaurant. I was like looking for work anyway. I was like, "Of course." 2 weeks, turned into 2 months, 2 months, 2 years, 2 years turned into 27 years now.
Nice.
Holy smokes! Has it really been that long?
Must have.
Yeah.
Basically like 50 years.
Basically 50 years in floor years.
Well, mine's it's funny. You hear the stuff. My son's second generation. I'm first generation, but I got in just right after I got back from boot camp for the National Guard, and was looking for a job. All I'd ever done is bust down tires in high school. My mom was a bookkeeper at some flooring store, and they needed a helper, and I went and been a helper. I thought that was going to be temporary. I too tried to get out of the industry. I started driving a truck for Nabisco, and my glorious brother wrote tickets on my license and got me fired.
Oh.
And right back to flooring I went at 19 years old. So I was I've been in it ever since I essentially got out of high school and got back from boot camp, and I took to it quickly. I really took to carpet in particular really quickly, and it was just in my blood, so to speak. And next thing you know, I'm 4 years later, I'm starting my sub business, and then we started a full service business, and I bought my partner out, and now we employ W-2 in-house employee installers, and we also sub out to about 70 to 80 subcontractors. So that's the story, and there's parallels in all of that. One thing that I didn't hear was I got out of college and I went to this great training, got started. I wanted to learn about this awesome industry I'd heard about, and went through a 5-week course, got on a website, got hired by a really good guy, continued my career, got certified in year 3 or 4. And so that is what I feel like is kind of missing in most stories that started in the 90s or even 80s. You get back in the 60s and 70s and they start talking about, well, I joined the union, flooring union. They put me through training, and you do hear those stories from really old timers, but newer guys say 90s start. I don't hear that story, and that's what we're trying to bring back here with the huddle, is to bring. And I know that's CFI, and what CFI wants to do is bring back that, like the origin story being, hey, there's this great industry I can go get trained in. I wanted to get into a trade. I picked flooring. I went through some training, got hired, continued on, got certified, started my own business. And then, that story, I'm waiting to hear. I know there's people out there that did it that way. It's just very few and far between.
Right. And then you have people like Rollin.
Here.
You have people like Rollin that have been installing for 180 years already. So he's been through everything.
He has. He's one of the newest 5 hammers. I owe him a picture so we can get him put out there. So he's the newest 5
That's
hammer.
awesome.
and he may be, there's one level for anybody not knowing, but there is one level above 5 hammers, and that's just a 5+, and that's a certain deal that our algorithm kind of kicks out, and it's like maxed out. And so when that algorithm max out, we call it a 5+. So yeah, Rollin might be our first 5+. So
he's
for all you
embedded.
5 hammer guys out there, there's still one more little to get. But so that's the background. You obviously are at CFI to make a change and to do some positive things to the industry, as we talked about earlier. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us, like, what does that look like for you? What is, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing as you take over in this organization? And what's the biggest challenges facing the organization? And because of that, it's really facing the industry, because I know I'm on the board of CFI. These two guys have been very involved with CFI for a long time. That is what CFI wants to do, is like improve the industry.
So our biggest, I'd say challenge, but opportunity at the same time. So think about opportunities that we get day in, day out. We don't have a shortage of demand there. They're out there. Our issue is prioritization. Which ones should we pursue and which ones should we not? Because we can't be everything to everybody. So, and I hate to say that because I don't want to be negative, but in reality is, if we're just trying to chase every opportunity that's out there and we're not bringing any of the ones to the finish line, then we're really not doing anything, right? We got to do a better job prioritizing our excuse me, it's this kombucha I'm drinking here. It's throwing me off. But that's something that we're challenged with, and our team is. And look, we have good people in our core team, right? I think Jen's on here. Jen's what she does. She works like there's no tomorrow. John as well, and Dave. I mean, the whole team is out there making it happen. So it's my responsibility really to add some efficiencies to our processes, right? That's something that we're challenged in, that we need to fix, that really impede our success. Because really what I see for CFI is a way of creating transformative growth. We have the ability of doing that, but we need alignment within our team and defined responsibilities, right? So, I mean, if we're trying to do everything for everyone, and that's not going to get us to the finish line, right? So let's look at our opportunities. Let's create some strategic planning and tasks, and also accountability. Who's responsible for these responsibilities, right? Who's got the ball on it? And, that's going to take some change. We're going to go through some changes, and nobody really likes changes, but I'll tell you what, all the successful companies, they change, and we have to as well. We have to do things a little bit different. And for the most part, I think the team has been open to that. And there's more to come, guys. Look, this is month 2. So it's fairly new. I'm still meeting a bunch of our stakeholders and people and understanding the organization and where we need to be more effective. But the good thing is there's opportunity, right? We just need to do a better job of prioritizing.
Man, we got to come up with a different word for you.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister for me, man. I'll tell you guys that I think it's a little bit of the Portuguese and the Spanish, and some of that just
all that mixed up.
It's jeez.
Hey, thanks for joining us while you could, Levi.
But anyway, so that's something there that it's going to take a little bit of work, but we got a good plan behind it, and as long as the team is open to change, it's going to be good change.
So that's the thing too, is the change part. I want to add to that, and I'm going to butt in. The change part is always hard for people, right? Because they don't look at when you say change, you're changing what they're used to doing when it should be improvement, right? We're improving. There's other words, and change is hard for me. Ask Daniel. I don't want to learn how to do that. I don't want to learn why. I already know how to do it this way. But no, we had to change quite a bit.
And I think it's weird, right? Like with us too, because I'm the technology guy, so I'm always pushing on that new technology. And I think people need to look at the industry at kind of like technology, right? It's not going to be the same thing. You're not going to do the same things that you were doing 20 years ago. So what are we going to do now that's going to be even better than before? And that's where you kind of step in and say, hey guys, I know that things have been this way for this long, but in order to get something else out of it, you have to change something.
Well, I find that people really want the result of change. They don't want the actions of change. So that saying that if you do the same thing today that you did yesterday, you'll get the same thing as you've always gotten, or whatever.
Yeah, if you do the same
you know,
thing that you've always done, you'll get the same thing that you've always
same thing
got.
as you've always gotten. Yeah, I mean, it's really that. In our industry, it's kind of plagued with that. I can't count how many times I've talked to guys and uh, you know, if you compare the per unit per rate, whether it's by the yard, by the hour, or by the foot rates that are paid out today, the except with the exception of a few products, sheet vinyl being one of them. I remember getting paid $7 a yard to put in Flash Cove heat welded sheet vinyl back in the day, and now, we pay out 18. So it's made some good jumps, but I also got paid almost $3 a yard to lay carpet, and there's a lot of carpet layers still laying carpet for $3.50 a yard, or $3 a yard. It's the industry, and it's the marketplace that forces companies into that deal. No single company in a given marketplace can just up their labor rates to high heaven, or they'd never get a job. So it's got to be a market or an industry push to change it. That's one of the real focuses of Go Carrera, is when the entire installer base come together and demand a certain wage based on their skill ability. Well, now companies have a way to measure that and pay the higher rated guys higher money. And now you can have this elevation of the trade, as I like to say. Excuse me. But, I think that people will have to embrace the change if they want the result of the change. So many people just want the result. I mean, I got a 15-year-old kid that does the same thing, but you expect it from your 15-year-old. My daughter is 28, and as you get older, you realize that you got to change some things. So she's much different. She gets that, you got to make those changes. And I think other industries have been able to do it a little better than us. And I'm excited that we have some momentum going. It's been a lot of pushing in the industry. This podcast has been here. What episode number is this, guys?
137, I think.
So 137 weeks. So we've done 2 years of 2 years plus of podcasting, and we're seeing that wave change a little bit. And you're part of that, Ralph. And so it's exciting to see some of this stuff. And you're a younger guy. You got great energy about you. I witnessed that at Tice. It was awesome to hang out with you because you got this great energy about you. And so I'm going to lead that into a question of has the vision for CFI changed, or if not, tell us the vision, and if it's changed, how so, or is it just like got a little new fire under it?
Again, back to everything's about change, right? So I think our base is still the same. We just got to understand how we can be more impactful in a shorter time. And I see an opportunity really to you think about when and I may have touched on this, Paul, when we first met, our first podcast that we did in Vegas, but think about the dealer base, and you have a lot of different levels of dealers, right? You have some that focus on property management. You got some that focus on single family new construction. Then you got commercial houses, and then you have retail, and you have some retail that sell cash and carry, right? So they cater to that more that entry level price point, right? Of people coming in for rental property. Then you have some really high end dealer base, right? And those are focused on selling higher end goods. So that is a focus for us, right? How do we partner with those dealers that value for NFIC certification, CFI certification, and see the value in training and education, and bring them something that we can offer. And I think that's really going to help move the needle, especially for the installers, because again, if you want to work for these higher end, these dealers that are probably honestly paying more money than some of the other places, and they could probably justify paying it because of their clientele base. So we're helping our CFI installers, we're helping our NFIC installers by going to those guys and setting up training and a program for them that's effective. So that's one of our focus points, right? Is to really look for the dealer base as a partner. I'm not saying that we won't target property management companies. There's demand everywhere. There's need for training and education at every single level. But if you look at our immediate installers that are partnered with CFI and FIC, they do cater to higher end. They do work with higher end goods.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at the way that flooring goes to market, the bottom line is it goes to market through a dealer in most cases. And so teaming up with those dealers is obviously an important move for CFI. I do question I've met with multiple dealers about this question. So I'm curious of your take. How do you get the dealer to make it either mandatory, or how does the dealer enforce that they want an installer base that is highly trained?
Yeah, so that I think we're still defining, Paul. I mean,
because everything's subcontractor. They're not employees. They can't
force them.
But they can say, hey, all we're going to do is hire these guys, but they have demand tomorrow. And I guarantee you, if the installer said, no, I'm not going to go spend the money and take the time when I've been doing this long enough and I know what I'm doing and I know how to do it. So the answer is no. And if enough of those guys say no, then the dealer is going to still use the guys he knows can get his job done regardless.
If depending on what they're installing, right? I mean, so you're not going to give a job to just anybody. You got your people that you use that are qualified. So I think we have to create the value to those dealers, and there's got to be marketing value too, where they're utilizing certification and they're having that conversation with the end user, which is the people walking in the door. If I have a retail store and I have my customers coming in, I'm going to let them know I use certified installers, and here's what that program entails, and here's what you're going to get. Most likely they're going to go shop around and they're going to ask the other dealer, hey, do you guys have certified installers? Because now you planted a seed. The reality is most are not leading with that. So we have to change their mindset to lead with certification. So let's say we create a certified dealer firm that's maybe a percentage, maybe it's 50% of their installer base are certified. So they become a certified firm. Give them the tools to lead with that from a marketing standpoint. And that's how you win. And they'll see the success there. And then again, they'll mandate that. But that's also creating a behavior where now the end user that's shopping for floors are going to go to dealer down the street and ask for these things. And then dealer down the street and say, hey, how do I get my guy certified? What's going on here, right? So those are behavioral changes that we can do that'll help us certify more people, bettering our industry, but also making that a part of that selling conversation, right? So, I mean, it's a sales tactic that our dealers should be using. And if they start that today, they're way ahead of most of their competitors. Same thing with the installers. If I'm a certified installer, I'm leading with that conversation, because you know that you are a minority to the installer base, because most are not. So you need to be leading with that conversation and using that as leverage when you're trying to close on opportunities. So
Well, I like it. I think that selling based off of the power of your labor. I think I actually did a talk on this at one year at Tice, that you leveraging your skill, leveraging your installation skill at your disposal to sell your flooring, to actually sell the product better. That when you're showing a high end piece, that you're like, and by the way, we are the only shop in town that only uses certified guys, right? And so leveraging that and letting your guys sell for you by their quality, and it not just being a one-to-one interaction between the installer doing a good job. That homeowner says, "Oh, thank you for doing such a good job," but that never gets exposed. If the dealer leads with that, it's always exposed. Ask for a testimonial from your end user about the installer and put that face forward. I see a lot of testimonials from dealers being about how great the sales staff were, or how beautiful the showroom was, and the ones that are about the installers almost aren't there, or they get buried. They're there. There's plenty of them there. It just leading with them or letting those be that forward facing thing. That's exciting to me, because I think the installer should be elevated myself. We have a saying that, what's good for the installer is good for the industry. So
Paul, just to kind of add to that, there's two other areas that can be beneficial to that dealer base, right? So you think of CFI, we're under the umbrella of WFCA, right? So with FCEF, with FCITS, right, with these other organizations. So how do we create some synergy within those companies, right? So we have our dealer partners, and now FCF is bringing all these new potential apprentices to the industry, right? So is that something that we can share with our dealers that are supportive of CFI, giving them the opportunity to hire these new people that are interested in joining the industry, right? And then the other thing, how do we work on a claims process that how can we be supportive there with our other organization to support? Because claims are a big deal. Obviously, the dealers that are feeling the pain and suffering of claims, it's very costly. I think all of us have all experienced that. So how can we create an incentive for them to help with that claims process, knowing that we have that organization now that's a partner of CFI in somewhat the same building, right? So there's a lot of opportunity we have to really create that. I don't know what it is just yet, Paul. We're kind of defining. It's in his brain right now and it's coming out, but we're going to make something happen that's really going to be impactful to the industry.
Right. And what Kevin says right here, we need to get flooring manufacturers promoting and selling both CFI and NFIC to dealers. How do they do this? And, even Roberts, offers an exclusive warranty to people that are certified. So it's getting that backing from the manufacturers.
Yeah, it's a toughie. It's a toughie because you have other training organizations out there. To list a single training organization gets tough. I've been in those conversations right out in front of everybody and their brother at different conventions. So that's a tough one. That's one of the problems that we're solving, is giving the ability to point out your first, or to point out the first part of what you said with the FCEF. And for those in the audience who don't know, FCEF stands for Floor Covering Education Foundation. And so they take, new people out in the industry, take in some new blood, get them scholarshiped, get them trained, and now they're available to hire. Our program, Jumpstart, puts them out there to allow subcontractors, who are the bulk need of the new installers, give them access to the new trainees. So, you got to have some mechanisms there. I think you and I've chatted a little bit about it, but there's a lot deeper we can go about how the technology that we've built, and allow to just put the railways in for CFI to be able to accomplish some of those key goals. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so we've talked about a ton in such a short time. I say short time, we're in this thing 45 minutes here, but you talked about partnerships. You talked about the vision for CFI. What's your vision, Ralph, for the industry? Not just Ralph. What would the ideal business setting for the industry? And when I say the industry, I'm really speaking like the installation community and how it applies, because this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin kind of touched on it, right? I mean, it takes a village, and it's not just left on the installers or the dealers or the manufacturers. We're all accountable to fix our own problems. And I think when we're at a place where everyone sees the value of training and education, all parties, that's when we're firing all cylinders. That's when things are really happening. My vision is to get that alignment, get that moving forward with everyone. And we're making strides where it is happening. Maybe not as fast as we want it, but I mean, go back a decade. I mean, we've come a long way, and it's only going to get better. Some of the things that we're doing in that I'm really excited about. So we got some new capital expenditures, and one specifically that we allocated funds is for our website enhancement. That's really going to help. I want to highlight the installers that are supportive of CFI and really do more there on that website and get more out of it, and also work with some of our partners. Paul, you and I are talking about how do we link Go Carrera to that to add more value to the installer. So that's a huge opportunity there that I'm excited about, and we'll continue to work on that. And then also like the facility. So we have our home base in Dalton. We have this big warehouse that I'm trying to create a training hub there, where we have several monthly events going on in our home base, and that's having people there, resources there. But right now we're doing some renovation, and actually this past weekend I was installing kitchen cabinets over there. We're trying to get our break room done. So the only thing left to do is install some floors, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So we have an event going on in 2 weeks already. And then regarding NFIC is a great opportunity and a great acquisition that we did. And it's really going to help us, CFI, but the whole WFCA organization. But we want to create a monthly cadence of trainings at that facility. When we do it at our home base, we have all the assets we need there. When we start moving things around, it gets costly. So we're trying to be very efficient, and the Dalton facility really allows us to do that and be supportive to the manufacturers that are local to us. So that's a huge thing that we're doing right now. I think it's
Well,
going
and
to have a benefit for
that
everyone.
adds some synergy too, right? Having a home base like that, I think adds this high vibration, like something's going on, and a place where things can like be known. You go here, you're going to get educated, like that hub. You see them like union halls across the nation where, um, not quite as much as you used to back in the day, but at the end of the day, that's a place where excellence kind of happens, and I would hope the same for our home there in Dalton, is that it gets kind of recognized as a hub of excellence, and you can create that by doing some more trainings and having more like fly-ins for having a bunch of CFI guys come together and do a free training. It doesn't have to be certified, just a certificate of completion, where, some of the really high hammer rated or highly CFI trained guys do a free training for, a set of new guys or something. Just things like that create a buzz. I think is awesome, and to have that central hub at home is pretty sweet. I wanted to address one of the comments. Chad, yes, CFI does offer training for sales staff.
Yeah, technical
So,
certification.
Yep.
Did you guys see Rollins' comment about Dave as a grandfather now?
Dave's a grandpa.
Oh, Dave, Grandpa Dave. Well, the way he fell on camera about 2 years ago during the huddle, I thought he was a grandpa then. I'm just kidding, Dave. Don't beat me up next time you see me.
Yeah, he's super excited. Guys, we have a great team at CFI, and I'm honored to work with them and take us to the new chapter. So
it looks like Kevin might be down there next week. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, go ahead.
No, I'd say Kevin's coming down, and they got some stuff that they're doing Monday, and then we have a 3-day stair training that we're doing. Our union that we have a relationship with in the West Coast is coming in for that. So, and the cool thing that, I mean, really, if you think about like what we're doing there, we're also coordinating some plant tours at some of our manufacturer partners. So they're going to have the ability of going and they were selective about it. They wanted to see a turf manufacturing plant. So guess what? We're going to go see a turf manufacturing plant. So we have the ability with our partnerships to make it more impactful, where they can see, obviously get some training and education, but also they can see how the things are made from an aggregate or the raw materials, right? How are these materials made? That's so impactful. So
yeah, it's cool to go to a mill tour for sure.
Yeah, the mill tours are awesome. They never get old.
Well, you know, when we're, covering the topic as broad as elevating, what is the one thing that I should say that makes flooring so complicated? And we get compared to, say, electricians or plumbers or this or that. Those are, another highly skilled trade. What makes our industry so complicated is the subcontracting. The fact that one study will tell you 87% of everything you walk on is done by 1099 subcontracted labor, not somebody's employee. And so the lack of controls in that make it difficult. Do you ever see that going away?
Not for, it depends on the account, right? The dealer. It's
as an overall, like we're talking flooring versus electricians, and it's the exact opposite. Most electricians, most of the electrical work done in your home is done by an electrical company who has W-2 employees. Most of the flooring that's done in your home is done by a flooring company or a flooring store that the general contractor hired, that then subs out their labor, and then that sub may sub out their part of the labor themselves too.
So the only way that really could change significantly is if there's licensing from a federal level. That's the only way that we can. And think about it. What's the difference between us and them is you need to have a special license to be an electrician, right? You need it. So we don't have that. And I'll tell you, Paul, with I got my IICRC certification through water restoration. So I did ASD, WRT, and AMRT. And the only in that industry too, I mean, it's not an industry that certification is something that's required. However, the insurance companies, the insurance providers are requiring it. So they're driving the demand for those certifications. So, like what Kevin said, the manufacturers should have some skin in the game here because they can help drive that cert. Now, I'm not saying they're all going to do that. And I'm not saying that we could even support the demand right now where we're at today. But I think if some start implementing or maybe changing some of the verbiage to not required, but recommended. Recommended is a strong word, right? And that's gonna really help drive more demand to certified installers.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
We got
to
a lot
address
more.
your licensing thing earlier, licenses are typically are from a government or a regulation standpoint. We did a long podcast on this actually, or part of it was on this. But I mean, the bottom line is those licenses are required for protection, risk management, and protection, and so it's really the resulting damage from your activity. So you wire a house wrong, that house burns down. You know, you plumb a house incorrectly, and the resulting damage is not just the pipe that broke or the seal that was not made, but everything around it is ruined from the water.
Right.
If we miscut and install a bad floor in a kitchen, the only thing affected is that bad floor. So there's no resulting damage, and thus it's my belief that we will never see the light of day of a true regulatory license, because that's really what they're driven for and why they're in place. I also use they're like in the UK, our friends over there in the UK that we shoot podcasts with every once in a while. You know, they have a license that's required for these certain gas fitters. Well, if you don't fit that gas line correctly, you got an explosion, you know, and they feel the same way. There'll never be a license in flooring in the UK. One of the more, and they're more heavily regulated in construction stuff, but they don't think there'll ever be a license in the UK required because the resulting damage aspect just is not there for us.
But do we need one? I mean, think about it. Like,
That's just what drives it.
so
It's like what drives it. You don't
Yeah.
need a license to drive a farm vehicle out on your farm, but you damn sure do to get out on the city streets, because of
Right.
the resulting damage of you. It's not because the skill itself is so hard to drive. It's the resulting damage of going out on the city street and killing somebody versus just tipping your truck over in a ditch on your farm. So, do we need one, or need the resulting damage to get a license? I mean, you just have there's a lot of ears to bend and pressure to uh, uh, from regulating bodies for that to happen, that I don't see that being important enough to them. No one's going to die from it. Why are they going to spend their time forcing this industry or this larger governmental license?
Right. Kevin says that he bets if manufacturers give some type of rebate, the dealers that use certified installers, we'd see a lot more people getting certified, and the manufacturers would have a lot less claims. And we just had a rep in here not long ago that said that even she's seeing that their claims are not being covered. And it is, I mean, everyone goes back to, all right, they're going to throw the installer under the bus. But I said the fact of the matter is it typically is the installer, because there's too many people out there that don't know what they're doing or don't know, the ins and outs. And I said they just have to not give the inspectors a chance to even call out anything.
There's something there, guys. There's absolutely something there that
I like
can
what
work
Kevin
on.
has to say about it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, this rebate, if the manufacturers did a rebate and they um, now how you manage that, what level is it? R1 doing an R2 kind of job. I mean, there's some issues that would have to be worked through, but I think it's the right direction. The huddle starts at 3:00 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, for Mark's question there. Yeah, I like what Kevin had to say. I think those rebates.
And then did you see what
that out
Chad
could be
said
great.
here? Like that if certifications were required, that the amount of claims would be cut by 90%, but dealers and manufacturers don't see it. And that's because of when we go back to them just blaming the installer, and it always just falls back on us. And that's where us as installers need to see the value. Like, hey, I'm protecting myself out here because everything's going to come back to me. And instead of just kind of like complaining that it comes back to us, just know that on the front end and get ahead of it.
Well, we need
Yeah,
to practice as an installer, as a community, and for all the installers watching live, I mean, we need to practice the same risk management. How do you risk manage? You get trained. First off, you're going to do a better job. But secondly, you can prove that you were trained in the proper manner to install the product. So it at least takes away one of the lowest hanging fruits that claims people will blame an installer. It's easy to, like, if, and it blows my mind. Like, if you go to a mechanic and he's not trained at all, he's got a cherry picker in a tree to pull the engine. I mean, and something goes wrong, you ain't got nobody to go back to. You go to the dealership with ASE certified people or factory trained technicians, and now everybody's protected in the thing. If it got installed in, if something went wrong with the part, it's probably the part. The guy was factory trained on how to do that product. And so I feel like as installers, we should, look at it the same way as a lot of the other industry looks at it, as a risk management tool. Get yourself trained. It's a affordable way to not only increase your skill and get better, but it's also an affordable way. We lost Daniel for a moment. He usually pops back on when that happens, but it's also an affordable way to manage your risk and not just have the finger pointed at you. But if you're highly untrained, if I'm a claims person, I'm like your easy target, man.
Paul, it's called CYA. It's what it's about. I mean, do your training and learn your products, but understand, cover your butt or ass. I mean, can we say ass on here? That's what CYA is. I mean, do those things that you should to protect yourself, right? I mean, as an installer, there are resources out there. You got to put in the effort, right? We're here, guys. We're here to help. And our CFI certification, you'll go through the not only just the installation of the product, but we teach off of standards, right? We're teaching you what those standards are. And then you also have a brotherhood of people that are supportive to you. And probably a lot of people listening right now live understand that, right? But the people that don't, that need to really embrace this, because the last thing I want is installers paying for claims, and it may not even be their fault, right? I mean, it may not even be so. It could be an environmental issue. It could be
there's 1,000 things that could go wrong. You're just leaving yourself as an easy picking.
Correct. You got to make sure you protect yourself, guys, and trust me. A lot of I don't want to defend all the installers, because there's some jobs out there that are pretty shoddy, right? So if you're doing terrible work, guess what? It's on you. But if you did everything right according to the standards and the guidelines, and you're a certified installer, that conversation is a little bit different. If you're going to send in a claim, you know that you've done your job and you have data and documentation to back up, right? Because that's what they're going to ask you for. Did you do a moisture test? Did you do this? Did you acclimate the floor? Those are things that you should already be prepared to answer. Have all your ducks in a row. We teach that.
Have your ducks in a row. Know the lingo. That's one of the biggest things you'll learn in a certification is the vernacular that you're going to be asked, whether it's how'd you seal your seam, what kind of seam tape, all these kinds of things that you're going to get asked during those inspections. If you know how to speak the correct vernacular and do it in the right way, you got a better chance of passing the test there. You know what I mean?
Science don't lie.
Science don't lie. All right. So we have come to the end of the podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. A special thank you to Ralph for joining us. It's been awesome to have you on and get to know you a little bit better, man, and let the audience get to know you a little bit better in a kind of our standard setting here on the Huddle. If you like what you guys hear here and enjoy the conversation, enjoy our guest, consider giving us a like and subscribe on one of the channels. We're on all the podcasting networks as well as YouTube. Give us some love and we've had a few shorts hit almost 2 million views. So we're really excited about some of that growth, guys. It's all because of you, and we really appreciate it. You're the reason we do it. So from here, I want to wish you guys the best. For those of you going through Snowmageddon with me, stay strong, stay warm, and keep safe out there. Thanks again for Ralph joining us. Gentlemen, the Gonzaleses, thank you so much. As always, you guys rock, and
We didn't
you
do
are the
nothing today,
Huddle.
bro. We didn't do nothing
Well,
today.
yes,
I
you did.
like
Yeah.
hearing his story. So I just, you know what I mean? I wanted to hear everything. I took a lot of notes, and trying to butt in here with some of the stuff I'm finding out. But no, I liked hearing the story, the background, and the goals. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And also, if you're a Spanish speaker and you're having trouble understanding what I say, consider joining Jorge on the Spanish podcast of the Huddle. And that is once a month. I believe it's every third Tuesday. If you follow us on our
I don't even
socials, you're going to know. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. And until next